Today we're going to be going over a new feature that was added back in June, that changes the return process up in POS to where you can return items to vendors as well as discount returned items. Now first you have to enable this, and you have to enable this in both Director and the point of sale. So we're going to look at Director first. After you log into Director with a user that has the admin permission, that will unlock the Settings hyperlink in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You will choose this, and then on this page, there is a checkbox, Enable Return Worksheets. Make sure that is checked. Choose the Setup hyperlink, and then you're presented with another window that has several options. You can allow discounting, which what that does is whenever you're doing a return in the point of sale, it will allow discounting of items. You then have level-based discounting, and here's where you can designate predetermined descriptions for discount levels as well as what percentage off that item will be. And then you can enable the functionality to return to a warehouse. Choose that checkbox there and then choose your warehouse vendor. This is great for returning items to a warehouse that runs the FastTrack's warehouse software. The retail and the warehouse software communicate with each other. So we're going to go ahead and choose the Save button here. And we're now going to look at the settings in the point of sale. So I'm going to open the POS up. I will log into a user that has permission to look at these settings. I'll go to Actions and Settings, and Register Settings. And there's an option here, just like in Director, Enable Return Worksheets. We'll make sure that is checkboxed. We'll choose the Setup hyperlink. And we're going to have a very familiar group of settings with a couple additional ones here on this screen. So allow discounting. That's, of course, whenever you're doing a return, you have the option to discount an item. That item is being returned. It will allow you to discount that. You can append duplicate items on the same worksheet, which will roll items up to that are duplicated on that same exact worksheet. You can force scanning, which means if you're manually adding items to that worksheet, it will force you to scan. You can't manually add by item searching. Require verification. That will require manager verification. Enable Convert to Invoice. That will allow you to convert the return worksheet to an invoice to immediately be applied to inventory. Enable Convert to Order, which will allow you to convert that worksheet to an order, which can then be EDI'd to your vendor. Then you have your level-based discounting. I have the same levels as I had in Director, just generic descriptions here, and then the same percentages. I have the Enable Return to Warehouse enabled. That's where I can enable the ability to return to a FastTrack's warehouse. I have the option to enable warehouse approval. That will basically make the return worksheets function a lot like working orders functions, where the store will create the worksheet with the return items. That once they've finished that worksheet, they will send that to the warehouse for approval. It's not complete yet. It goes to the warehouse for approval. The warehouse will then approve or deny items on that worksheet and then send that back to the store. And then the store then can convert it to an order or invoice. And then the ability to enable return to a vendor. Then we have our predetermined return reasons we can add here. I've just got generic descriptions here. But to add those, you just choose the Add Reason or Edit Reason. Now today we're going to be going over the discounting functionality as well as returning to the vendor. We're not going to do the return to warehouse in this webinar. That will be in a separate webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Save. I'm going to save these changes. I'll just choose a Save button there. I've already done that. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here. And we're going to look at how this process changes the flow of the return process in the POS. I'm going to open the point of sale up, and we're going to start a return. So I'll do the item return. I'm just going to do a manual item return. I'm going to key in my UPC. I'll subtotal that out and cash the sale out. And then we're going to have another screen presented here. Now, by default, it's the return to inventory, and this item is new and can be added back to inventory as pre-selected. So if I wanted to just return this back to my inventory, I can choose the OK button. And that will effectively make it work as it always has functioned. You return an item via the POS, it gets added back to your inventory, so your quantity on hand is immediately updated. Let's do another return, and let's look at some of the options. All right, so I just did another return. I can now choose the "This item is unsellable" option. This will not return that item back to my inventory. I can then choose one of my predetermined item levels. So I'll just choose level 1 here. I'm just going to put damaged, and I'm going to choose OK. So that does not return the item to inventory. That actually sends the item to corporate for corporate to approve a discount. So we're going to jump back to Director here. And after we enable those settings in Director, when we go to the Price Book module, there is now going to be another tab at the far right called Pending Discount Items. Now notice there's that item I just returned. We can see it's from Store 1. There's the UPC description. There's the current price, current cost. Notice the discount price is going to be what I had as that level 1 discount, 10% off. Now, in this scenario, if I sold this item, I would technically be selling it above or below cost. I wouldn't want to do that. Well, the store actually cannot sell the item until corporate has approved that change. So even though that level is predetermined as 10% off, it can't be used yet until corporate approves that. So I don't want to sell below that cost. I can actually change that. I know that's the 10% off. I can change that. I'll just change it to $95.99, so I'm at least making something. I will choose that select and then apply discounts. This item can now be used sold at the store at that discounted price. Now, how do we do that? Well, on the point of sale, there's a new button type that goes along with this. Sell discount item. Just to see that, we'll go to our actions and our settings in our POS button editor. We'll go to our main panel here where that button resides. I'll choose the Sell Discount Item button. We'll look at that. Notice the button type is called Sell Discount Item. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel all of this because that button already exists. Now, if I choose the Sell Discount Item button, I'm then presented a list of items that can be sold at that discounted rate. There's the original price. There's the sale price. I'll go ahead and apply that. That will add that item to the transaction at that discounted price. I'll subtotal that out and I can sell it, and it sold at that discounted price. If I try doing that again, notice there's nothing there. That discounted item inventory is completely separate from your standard inventory. So you can't sell more than what has been returned, and you can't just sell any item at that price. It's going to be based on what corporate approves. So let's look at that one more time. We'll do the item return. I want to key that item in. Subtotal that out. We'll do cash. And I must have done something wrong there. Item return. There we go. Yeah, I'd done a sale. I didn't do a return. So we'll choose the item as unsellable. We're going to choose level 2 this time. I will OK that. We'll go to Director. I will refresh that pending discount item screen. There's that item. Notice it's now 20% off because my level 2 was set to 20% off. I'm going to select that. I'm going to change that price. I'm just going to make this $96 now. I will apply that discount. I'll go back to the point of sale. If I choose that Sell Discount Items button, there's that item, the original price and the sale price, and I can then sell that. So that's how the selling discount items work. That's a great way to have corporate control any type of returned items or discount items, and where you can technically just remove that price override button. The cashier would be taken out of the equation that it's based on corporate's approval. So let's look at vendor returns now. I'm going to do an item return. And this time, I'm going to choose return to vendor. Here is where I can choose my return vendor, which vendor I'm going to go to. There's the vendor part it's assigned. If I don't have a vendor part assigned to this item, then I can't return it to that vendor. It's not a partial because this is the carton, it's the full unit. I can flag this item as unsellable if I need to, and I can change the return reasons. I'm going to leave that unchecked, and I'm going to choose OK. Now, this will go to a new tab in the Actions menu. So I'll go ahead and exit POS. I'll go to Actions. I'll go to Inventory and Worksheets. Notice there's a worksheet here. I can choose this worksheet, and we can see there's that Winston that I just returned, that Winston carton. From this screen, I can send this to corporate after I make my changes, and corporate can approve of that to either be converted to an invoice or an order. If I need to alter this in any way, I can choose that edit button, and then I can see it's a full unit. I can change that to a partial if I'm on a partial item. I can change that return quantity. I can replace it. I can add a new entry. I can alter that reason, and I can flag it as sellable or unsellable. Now, notice that checkbox from POS is checked. That's because I did the return in the point of sale. If I choose Save here, that checkbox is gone. That's going to signify that this has been altered in some way. It's not done from the in-transaction portion of the point of sale. At this point, I can choose the Send button, and that would send that to corporate. On the corporate side, to see those, you would go to the dashboard, and there's a Worksheets tab. And here is you can see that worksheet, that vendor return. I can open that up, and I can convert that to an invoice. I can convert that to an order, or I can alter or delete or just completely delete this out if I needed to. I can close this out and delete that vendor return. So in this case, if I wanted to convert that to an order, I can choose Convert to Order. That'll convert that return worksheet to an order. There is the purchase order that's given. I can then go to my Inventory module and my Reorder tab. And my previous orders, there's that purchase order we had just created. And then I can immediately print that out, send that to my vendor. I can send that via EDI if I'm set up to be send them EDI files, and then start the whole vendor return process. This would do this electronically and take out the whole manual labor portion of that. If I need to do a invoice, we'll do an example of that. I can do that as well. So I'm going to go back to my point of sale. I will start another worksheet, turn that item. We'll do return to vendor. And we'll go ahead and return that. Back to my Worksheets tab. Here's my return worksheet. I'll view that. I'm going to leave this set to its defaults. I would send that to corporate. I'll go to Director here. I'll go to my dashboard and worksheets. There's that vendor return we just created. I will open this up. There's that item. In this case, I want to immediately apply this to inventory because let's say I'm going to ship that to the vendor right now, or they're here to pick it up. I will convert that to an invoice. I will assign it an invoice number. Create. It will create that invoice number. And then I can find that in the inventory module under receiving. And there it is. I can immediately open that up and then apply that. And that would immediately update my inventory. By default, the notes field will let you know that this invoice is from a return worksheet. All right, so that is how the return worksheets functions. You can see now with this setting enabled, there's a wide variety of ways to handle your returns by adding it back to your inventory, by having a separate discounted inventory, as well as moving those items directly to your vendor via order or invoice. Once again, these webinars, they are every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can see these if you go to our website, goftx.com, choose the FTX Lifeline tab at the top of the screen, scroll down and look for the webinar button. This screen will show you the upcoming webinars, as well as all of our previous webinars where you can view their recordings. You can also sign up for the newsletter by choosing that Get Notified of Upcoming Webinars button. I hope you've learned something today, and if you have any questions or comments on this webinar, let us know at websupport@fasttrackspos.com, and if you have any suggestions for future webinars, let us know at info@goftx.com. Thank you, and have a great holiday weekend.